क्या आ गया?
So, ma'am, we are live now.
Okay.
Good afternoon, all. I'd like to introduce our second speaker to you, Ms. Radhika, Managing Director of Reverse Logistics Groups India. She has been working towards driving behavioral change through various environmental awareness initiatives, such as the flagship campaign Clean to Green, which has reached 4 million people, and an initiative eSafai in partnership with GIS India, aiming to set up a value chain for e-waste management in the country, address the issues of e-waste, and enable successful implementation of responsible material loops. Today, she'll be discussing on the topic robust e-commerce networks, key to efficient green supply chain management. It is a pleasure to have you here, ma'am, today. Over to you. I wish you all guys a good session.
Yeah, thank you, Chelsea. Thanks a lot for this opportunity to you and your team and your managing director, as well as your sales head and everybody. I was actually listening to the earlier session, what Mr. Vijay Harthi was talking about reverse logistics. He gave a very insightful presentation and also was answering questions from all the participants, which was very enlightening for me personally. And one thing just struck me was e-commerce cannot be done without reverse logistics, and that is actually a very very pertinent work, because otherwise our returns management would go to a toss. So while we talk about reverse logistics, which of course is also an important part of green supply chain management, and e-commerce becoming a very big success, especially during the pandemic time, and the value that I think so every household would have felt with e-commerce supplying material to our doorstep. And then, of course, if we don't like, they come and pick it up and take it away. So actually, there is where we come as an organization, and we focus on that. I'm sure you are able to see my screen, and I will give you a little brief about what reverse logistics is and where do we come from. We are a company, German-based company out of Munich, and recently we've been also a part of a Re-Economy Group, which is UK based, which is backed by EMK Capital. Reverse Logistics Group is pretty much a 4PL organization. While I'm sure all of us know what exactly 4PL organization would be, where the basic definition is where a 4PL organization actually does distribution, procurement, and storage. Which is a little different to a 3PL organization. A 3PL organization is typically hired by large organizations who are putting their products into the marketplace and get their distribution network in terms of handling of goods from one location to another. However, in 4PL, the entire end-to-end management is done by people like us. We are a 4PL organization. However, since this is reverse, for us, procurement becomes a key nodal aspect, where we procure first, store that, and then distribute to recyclers or refurbishers and sell it to end users, while we remarket the recycled product or refurb product. So our organization is pan-global, and we have 30 plus subsidiaries globally, and we have 24 local offices. Of course, our presence is in almost 80 plus countries as of now, and we are across 4 continents with more than 500 plus employees and thousands of partners. So while we talk about waste management, yes, we are doing globally as well as locally, managing both e-waste and plastic waste or battery waste. Name the waste, and we would like to work into that management. While the production, or when we see the packaged material, it's more of a forward-looking material for most of the brands, producers, or importers when they put to market. However, people like us come when the put to market is done and the end user buys the product. So we are there from the entire life cycle of a product category while it is purchased by a consumer. From aftermarket services, managing the products and bring it to the warehouses, refurb it, and then re-put into the marketplace, or the end of life of product is what we look into and send it to a recycler. So that's our role. And in India, currently we are purely into the end of life management of a product, where you all of you must have heard about the e-waste rules. So we help electronic companies, brand owners, importers, or producers to help them do the collection targets, which is given to the brand owners by the government of India. And when I talk about e-waste generation in India, we have about 10 prominent states: Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh. You can see the pie chart, which talks about almost 19.8% is generated out of Maharashtra, and about 13% of waste material e-waste comes out of Tamil Nadu, and followed by Uttar Pradesh, and so on. India ranks almost fifth globally in e-waste generation, and the average growth rate of the durable industry or the electronic industry is almost 12%. So you can see how much, and this has been growing in the last 20, 25 years. This industry has not seen any kind of setback as such. Neither will it be, because the penetration level of products such as refrigerators or washing machine is hardly 35 to 40%, while television is almost 65 to 70%. Telecom is the most penetrated product in the marketplace. So e-waste becomes a very big issue for us, understanding the kind of masses we have across India. We are more than 1.3 billion population, and the kind of consumptions that we are doing is very important for e-waste generation. So, of course, globally it is 3.15. In India, it is 12%. And 95% of this e-waste gets collected by the kabadiwalas. In English, of course, we tell them informal sector. I'm sure all of us are aware of kabadiwalas, which actually run as a parallel value chain when you put two products into the marketplace. This parallel chain which is there is having small kabadiwalas or the rickshawalas that we see, who come to our houses collecting e-waste and picking it up. They go back to the clusters where these kabadiwalas exist. So every cluster, it's a very well mechanized organization which exists as old as, I would say, since mankind exists. So I would not say, I don't know where to find their lineage, because they were always there. Like if you go back to mankind, if I have to talk about, I was just Googling one day, when did this kabadiwala emerge? This was there when mankind was there. They used to collect all the tools, iron and ore, or whatever equipments, and makes tools out of it. Maybe it's weaponry or whatsoever. And since those days, this has been developing. I would like to give you a little example about Moradabad, wherein in Moradabad we have a huge utensil manufacturing unit, whether it is copper or aluminium, which we I'm so sorry. I think so. There was some problem there was some technical issue with my system, and you all could not see my screen.
Yes, ma'am, the screen is visible.
Okay, thank you. So going back to the kabadiwalas, which is of course 95% of the e-waste which gets collected, not only e-waste, I would say even the paper waste or any kind of waste that we have from our households is collected by a kabadiwala or raddiwala. They are fondly known as kabadiwala or raddiwala. Now, whatever waste in India, the waste management, collection and segregation has been happening since donkeys of years. I don't know how many, and there is no math to it. But however, it's a parallel chain which is working when you are seeing the formalized chain of put to market. So this is back to market, where they bring back the older products, break it open, and take out the parts which are important for use or reselling, and post that they dump it into the landfills or whatsoever. So this e-waste rule was actually carved out by Government of India, since this act came, the Environment Protection Act came in 1986, and post that there have been a lot of amendments 2011 was the first e-waste rule which came in being, and still not got implemented by most of the producers, because still it is a huge compliance cost for the producers. Whatever they put to market, they're supposed to bring it back as EPR, which is extended producer responsibility. And people like us, Reverse Logistics Group is actually a producer responsible organization in the country, where we are extended arms of the producers, and we help them bring back the products from the informal market, collect that, procure that material from the Gawadiwalas, store it in our collection centers, or do a bill to ship to hub and spoke model and send it to our recyclers. So that's the business model that we have evolved in the from 2017 onwards, since the rule got amended in 2016, and there were targets allocated to the producers, what they have to do for collection targets, and how they have to bring back their EPR channel. Giving you a quick view onto how the reverse logistics green supply chain management has been working, and we are very focused and committed into assessing how we are utilizing our supply chain and the monetary aspect of it, how are we consuming the fuel, and all of that from a perspective of standard operating processes. So this is business as usual. Whenever you are selling a product put to markets, the math evolving around this value chain is pretty much similar when you put to market. The only difference is everything is the reverse. For us, we have sourcing targets. Put to market companies have sales targets. So when we have to do procurement, we have to be very cautious about what are the data points, what are the trend analysis, where is the demographic, which is most populated. Urban to local management has to be done, where consumption of electronic waste is more aggressively done. We assess those data points and forecast as to how we can bring back the electronic products from the marketplace by buying from Kabadiwalas. And then, of course, optimizing our returns to management by the logistics cost, how we can actually work on bringing back the product from, say, far off locations or from purchasing it from individuals or from bulk consumers or from retailers or dealers. And then while we started in the year 2017, we actually were quite we were not very sure as to how this marketplace could evolve, because we did not know where to go and source. So we were hunting in the local Kabadi areas, like Kurla is one famous one in Mumbai, followed by Selampur in Delhi. So we started hunting in Mustafabad and such areas. And while we were hunting in areas such as Mustafabad, we were trying to explain to the Kabadiwalas that we are we will partner with you. Instead of you breaking it down, we will buy the material from you and then take it to the dismantlers or recyclers and do the needful. So it was a little Herculean task, because none of them had any GST or bank accounts. So we started from our basis initial phase by adopting them as aggregators. We coined a name for them. We could have not called them Kabadiwala or the informal market. So we had to create a reverse chain, as how a dealer network is for most of the brand owners, where they can sell, like how Samsung is selling with the dealer network in various marketplaces. So we had to actually create a name for them as aggregators, get them recognized by having their GST and bank accounts, having their agreements. And then also we informed Central Pollution Control Board that they are our partners, as they are not a recognized stakeholder in the environment rule. Because in the environment rule, they don't identify the informal sector. So that was one ask, the initial phase that we took. And then, of course, identifying them pan-India, and then how exactly we bring back that material. So we identified aggregators, which provided us material beyond 5 metric ton and in a sustainable manner, because they also have rickshawalas and pullers, radiowalas, who go out in the households, collect material, bring it to a cluster, and that cluster again sells it to a bigger aggregator. So this bigger aggregator has sustainable supply of stocks of raw material, old products, which we buy from them on a regular basis. and it is on a bill to ship to mode that we send it to our recycler. So we don't have go downs to store these materials. However, for quantity which is lesser than 1.5 metric ton, we focus on that through our collection centers. We bring that smaller quantities to our collection centers, store it for a certain while, say a little lesser than 30 days, and then aggregate more than 1.5 and send it to our recycler for recycling. So all of this would require certain SOPs, like how even the put to market brand owners would have, optimizing our returns management costs, planning of storage and deployment of transport of vehicles to drive fuel efficiency and stuff. So there is huge documentary compliances and traceability other than the normal e-way bills that Mr. Harthi was also explaining about. So we have an e-waste manifest, which is Form 6. That is a mandate. So it's a sender-receiver kind of a form, coming in 4 colors: yellow, pink, orange, and green. So the yellow one is filled in by the source supplier, Form 6, and the transporter retains the orange one. The pink one is retained by the recycler, and the green color is signed by the recycler to be given back to the where it has come from, as in from the source partner. So there is a huge traceability check, and for us, one load is an SKU, and that itself is quite large. When we talk about 5 metric ton, it runs into 100,000 of rupees. So that's how the business model was developed while we started our business. And today, as I speak with you, we are almost 80 plus people pan India. We have regional offices, branch offices. In South, we have 3 offices, one in Delhi and one in Mumbai. And slowly we are growing further. Explaining the SOPs and the documentary aspect is quite huge, because we have to ultimately go back to our clients and give them these documentary evidences, because they don't see the scrap being moved from one place to another. It's us, our team members, who see that. So there are a lot of pictures to be provided as documentary evidences with date and stamp. And while unloading, one is, of course, while loading from the source, those pictures. Also from Dharamkanta, what is the weight? We have to manage that, the weight slips and stuff. And once it moves to the recycler, the pictures at the recycler while entering the truck, entering their facility, while unloading at different levels of unloading, because it's important for the brand owner to also assess that this movement of goods have happened, and people have actually used those, the products have actually moved. There is a lot of concern by the producers that there should be no paper trading also in this work. And to ensure that, we have also requested our recyclers to have cameras and to assure and ensure that the material reaches their place and the loading and unloading is well recorded. Because anytime this can be picture proofed, plus there are a lot of audits that we conduct with our recyclers, and we have a special team which manages this recycler. For us, the point of sale is these loads as SKU, and we put this into our order management system, which of course the recycler does it for us. And then we do a lot of quality checks, both from the at the recycler's place, and then we have our offices in various locations over there. And we have a 4I principle of checking all the documentary compliances and the traceability. And we have an internal audit team which records and audits all these movements and proofing points. Along with that, we also have third party auditors auditing us at least once a year by various clients, or we do it ourselves. So it's more of a compliance business. We call it environment compliance services. This is one of our product categories that we sell in world over. Other than that, we have aftermarket services. We have Rebat for battery-based management, Repack for packaging, and Re-Electra for electronics. Other than that, we can have a lot of similar kind of businesses in terms of re-care for health domain and health industry. And then we have for refurbishing and remarketing, which is under our Cycleon in Europe. So in India, we are more focused towards Repack and Re-Electra, Battery waste management has to yet to see the light of the day in India. So once it comes, we will be focusing on rebat also. So it's important, like for example, in battery, one has to be very cautious as to how you are procuring that material and transporting in a non-hazardous manner. So the stacking of batteries would be different. For stacking of plastic is little different because you need to do baling and then stack it. For voluminous products like refrigerators, we need to stack them in a way because it's all scrap material. It's not a finished good item which is packed in boxes and thermocols. It's all open item that we pick up. So, how do we ensure that we pack the maximum and utilize our cost at best? Is big challenge for us. Initially, we did not know when we started in the first year. We picked up refrigerators without compressors. And in a 19 feet truck, we could only load 1 metric ton of refrigerators because it's a huge voluminous product, and it was quite difficult for us as a company to assess the cost. Within the state, from Chennai to Chennai, it took us almost 12 rupees per kg to do this activity. And it was such an enormous cost. We had to bring down that cost as to how we can, evolve ourselves. So a lot of ideation was done. So we thought, okay, let's put compressors also in that same truck because compressors are still a little, when you put all small compressors together, so it becomes quite heavy. And with that ideation and unique strategy that we evolved, so we created compartments within that truck to put in the compressors. We could move almost 3 to 4 metric tons in a 19 feet truck. So, likewise, in the last 4 years, we've evolved. The team has evolved as to how we can store maximum in a 17 feet truck, 19 feet truck, 32 double XL or stuff. And the stacking and storing has become was a big challenge for us to optimize cost. And slowly and steadily we could find ways and means because none of our partners had actually moved so much of scrap. But while we did that, we burnt our fingers, and we could get some wins out of it. So today I feel that it's more than compliance. It's compliance has become a product category. And going forward, if I have to see after 5 years from now or 10 years from now, I think so. Re-commerce or reverse logistics is will be the key for all of us for sustaining our business processes because it's very easy to launch a product, but how to bring it back and put to the circular economy concept, put to use the resources, break it open into plastics or ferrous or non-ferrous, and use it in the newer manufacturing of that product will be a huge task going forward. So we've been able to develop ourselves in that perspective. We are slowly evolving. I would not say that we've done much. It's still tip of the iceberg. A lot of deep diving is required for us moving ahead, and our conscious effort. Every employee in our organization is consciously working day in and day out, evolving new methodologies, new SOPs as to how we can work on our value chains to be progressive and do ethical sourcing, environment friendly by doing environment friendly recycling of end-to-end products, and to further reduce the carbon footprint and enable circularity. So that's our motive as an organization, and our efforts are towards that. And just to give you a little brief as a the problem statement that we've had is that while we were doing some pickups and pilot test in 2018, so we took Delhi NCR as a case study where how do we ply our vehicles, mini commercial vehicles, pan Delhi to collect material because we were not seeing any success coming from households, no matter whatever awareness programs we would do in our schools and colleges, telling them to donate their e waste. So we had to incentivize customers, whether individuals or bulk. So we started buying material from bulk consumers, from dealers, from individuals. However, this quantity is not very large. We call that as organic collection within the company. And it has become a huge challenge for us to devise multiple ways and means to work around it. So we call this as take back operations. Take back is the fundamental aspect of this rule, where producers are supposed to devise take back programs to do their extended producer responsibility. So these programs were developed by creating awareness programs. In the rule, you are supposed to also spend money to build awareness on e-waste, to talk about how what is happening, the harmful effects, the hazardous effect of the e-waste, which is lying idle in your house, which is non-functional. So we did a lot of school programs, covered almost 4 million plus people across the length and breadth of the country. And we realized that when you give education, a classroom session to people, it does not enthuse them. It does not enthuse them to give back the product. So in turn, we started buying and giving them incentives, either Amazon coupons. We started a pilot test that in Gurgaon, but again, we were not very successful. So the best way was to do awareness, make ourselves mobile. So we hired a mini commercial vehicle which would ply across the length within a city. Like you can see in Delhi, we have 3 collection center in Gurgaon, Noida, and Delhi. And between these 3 collection centers, we have a vehicle which plies across, which also looks like a mobile collection center. And we go and stand in various office clusters. We create a beat map, and in a timely manner, we start picking up the material. And we also have a toll-free number which picks up where we get calls, inbound calls. It's very heartening to share this instance. Like when we started a toll-free number, we used to hardly get any calls. And today, while we do our awareness programs, we recently did one and concluded in Rajasthan. I will show that in 1 week we got almost 100 to 200 calls. So that's the power of awareness program if it is done in the right manner. And then, of course, picking that material within a tag bound time, and doing all the documentary evidences as declaration from where we are picking up from the individuals, to bringing it to our collection centers, maintaining all the Form 2s and all the compliance statutory documents as requested, as mentioned in the CPCB guideline. And then, of course, we do immediate cash purchases when we pick up material from end users, and we give them money hand to hand, and we work like formal kabadiwalas. So the only difference between them and us is that we can, it's a little structured from an unstructured outlook, and we are working on the compliance management. So that's the difference. And going forward in the next slide, it talks about how the hub and spoke model has been created, and we could resolve certain questions as to how to get material back. So we've identified circles. So every city, like it's like drop in the ocean. I would not say that we have arrived. And this kind of effort which we are doing requires huge cash flows, deep pockets. And producer has to realize while they sell their products, they advertise and then launch their products in the marketplace. It helps them to get their turnovers. However, for us, it is all reverse. It only depends how much is the producer willing to spend to bring back the material. That's a huge question for us. We've been able to mitigate that challenge by going and talking a lot to our producer friends. Nevertheless, it'll still remain a market reality that they will consider this as a compliance cost, unless and until the producers feel that this is designed for environment and absorb all these costs in their cost structures while they produce a product. So that's how the collection canters are moving across the small little beat area that we identify. And we have 2-member team. One is a promoter. The other person is the one who buys the material and brings it back to the collection center in a compliant manner, fulfill all the compliance requirement. and the payment of the material on the Dharam Kharantas, having the waste slips, and of course all the delivery challan, Form 6, manifest, and all the proof and points which have to be maintained in our collection center is what we are doing. So that's just a case in point how we are executing this activity. With this activity, what we are doing since last 4 years, today we have 41 plus aggregator with an SKU for more than 5 metric ton pan India, 100 plus associates, which is the material category is from 1. The way we talk everything in kgs and metric tons. For us, the product category is important, of course, when we assign it to a producer or a brand for doing the collection target. However, whenever I have to talk about my SKU, it comes on the weights and not on the material type right now. So anything which is beyond 1.5 metric ton and below 5 metric ton is we have coined that name as associate they are, although they are all from the informal sector, but for us they're associate. So we are creating a channel network of a dealer, distributor, sub-dealers, local chain stores, or modern trade. So something similar is what we are trying to do from a backward angle. We have 500 plus affiliates who provide us lesser than 1.5 metric ton through our take-back operations. And we store that material in our collection centers, which are totally CPCB compliant. And these collection centers are pan-India, and we currently have 37 of such collection centers. We channelize this e-waste collected to our recycler through a hub and spoke model. Either we do bill it to ship to when it's the higher quantity, or we store it in our collection center and then do secondary movement and send it to the recycler. We have 21 certified recyclers and dismantlers. And we recently did a take back. We launched a take back portal on 14th of October while we celebrated the International E-Waste Day. And so we have certain glimpses. You can also log on to clean2green.in and see the portal. It's launched, and maybe if you have anything which is e-waste lying in your house, please do log on to our portal and ask us to pick it up. Our toll-free number is 180010314660, and we ourselves keep on talking that e-waste is a critical problem, and more we talk about it from a donation perspective and do it in the right manner, I think so we'll be utilizing those waste material lying in your drawers and converting them into resources. So our Clean to Green awareness campaigns, which is under the aegis of METI and Digital India, is there since last 4 years. As I mentioned earlier, we crossed almost 4 million plus individuals, and we are continuously working on it. I'll just quickly show you our brand video so that it can give you a perspective. I don't think so this is working. Maybe I'll show it in the YouTube a bit later. 1 minute, I'll just request one of my colleagues to help me with the YouTube video. Could you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am, the screen is visible.
Okay. Do let me know if you hear the volume.
Yes, ma'am, it's audible.
Okay.
No matter how old we get, we always love playing this little game called Passing the Parcel. The rules are simple. If you're holding the parcel, when the music stops, you lose. Lucky for you, we love to lose. We take your pre-loved, unwanted, unused electronics and we make it better for the world. Come, join the game where when you play with us, you always win. You can take your old and unwanted electronic gadgets and pass it on to our drop centers or have it picked up by our trusted team. From there, let us take care of everything. The legalities, the dismantling, the sorting, and most importantly, the disposal. When you play with us, you're always the winner. So be that winner, that super citizen pays the part to saving the world. Join the Clean to Green movement.
That's our website, clean2green.in, and you can always request to pick up from us, and we'll be at the doorstep to pick it up, and also paying for the valuable that you about the program that we have. So we have a little technical glitch at my side. I'll just reload my presentation. I hope you can see the presentation again.
Yes, ma'am. The presentation is visible.
Okay. And this is about a take back portal that I was talking about. We just launched on 14th of October, and Srimati Venu Gupta, IS chairperson of Rajasthan State Pollution Control Board, inaugurated the Clean to Green take back portal on 14th of October for individual consumers and bulk consumers of Rajasthan. But of course, this is pan India. You can also do it. So typically, it was for Rajasthan when she inaugurated it. And we welcome and we urge you, all of you, to come and log on to our portal. Wherever you have any kind of older products, we will be coming to your house and picking up, and also paying you instantly the moment you log on to this portal. So that's about our portal, how we are doing this. And this is a little glimpse of activities that we did in Rajasthan from 10th of October, 14th October till 26th. Our vehicle got flagged out in Jaipur and it went to Ajmer, Bhilwara, Jodhpur, Nagpur, Nagar, Bikaner, Jhunjhunu, Nimrana, Alwar, and then of course back Bhiwadi. So this program was basically in 3 to 4. It was stationed. The mini commercial vehicle was stationed in a particular city or town for more than 2 days, and we had five launch events. We would move the vehicle in the commercial hubs of the city, whether it is RWAs, Residential Welfare Association, or into the office clusters or into the marketplaces, and collect and buy material. So it was a huge success, and we collected almost more than 7 metric ton of material, reached out to almost 1.3 million people. Our focus is to do certain activities more in a deeper geographical spread pan India, which we are already doing as I speak with you, but it'll be more focused. We have a team of almost 20 plus people in on roles and more than 100 people as promoters pan India who are engaging daily onto these activities, spreading the word that whatever end of life of products that you have, we will be happy to pick it up and then of course send it for recycling. So that's the kind of re-commerce that we are doing, and the focus is to collect as much and as more, and then of course we assign these products to our clients who have responsibility to collect and do the targets. These are a few glimpses of our Clean to Green awareness programs. We have more than this year we are reaching out to more than 5,000 stakeholders in across 100 cities and 300 towns, educating our end users on e-waste, plastic waste hazards, and spreading the word that do's and don'ts and the best waste management practices, how we can help to make our Mother Earth more cleaner and greener. And also to contribute to the sustainability development goals. We have done a lot of activities. We recently did during the Independence Day, Plastic Se Azadi during Independence Day. So we installed a reverse vending machine in one of the malls in Delhi. where we are encouraging the PET bottles to be crushed. So it's a little nascent stage, I would say. People are still trying to understand how exactly this entire activity of plastic waste management, or currently e-waste management, getting people involved in it. But I was also, like, we live out of I'm living out of Noida, and the Noida authority is doing a lot of work in collecting solid waste management from all households. So every day there is a mini commercial vehicle going at 7 o'clock across, flying across various sectors, saying "अपने कूड़े को अलग अलग कीजिए." So even the societies have gotten quite doing very concentrated effort of collecting material dry and wet separately. Of course, I'm aware that in Bangalore, Ahmedabad, and Pune, this is a rigorous activity already past couple of years. However, in Noida, it just started. I'm also made to understand that Gurgaon societies are also doing this. So it's important for the urbanized people whom we proudly say educated people are the ones who are actually contributing to the waste for electronic and plastic. So I would urge during this talk also that all educated class should be responsible enough to ensure that the kind of waste that they are generating should be disposed in the right manner. uh, I'm also enthused to give you my. I learned something from one of my ex colleagues. We worked together in a previous organization. She is quite an enthusiast in saving water. So I personally did that myself. I'm sure every household today is using RO for their water to have good drinking water. But none of us realize the kind of waste that water goes into. So it's more than 30 to 40 liters one household generates as wastewater every day when you turn out 10 liters of drinkable water. And that water could actually be used for cleaning activities in your house. Even you can clean your utensils and wash vegetables. So we can start from today. Each one of us on this platform today can take that vow that at least we should save water, because going forward another 10-15 years, I think so there would be a huge water crisis. So this is other than the waste management services and activations that we are doing, and we are thereby also contributing onto six SDGs, whether it is good health and well-being, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, and life on land. That is all about my discussion. This gives you a brief description on a lot of activations that we've been doing as press releases, as press ads for our producer friends, and also the webinars that we do consistently with a lot of stakeholders, spreading the word about waste management and how we can work together as a human race to save our Mother Earth. So I can take your questions if any, and as this diagram also shows what exactly we are into and why we call ourselves reverse logistics. We are into returns management, and our tagline is return to value. So I'm open for questions, Chelsea.
Participants can start posting your questions in the Q&A box. So Ms. Radhika can start answering it one by one.
So there is one question which Mr. Ambrish has asked us. How do you legalize the activity of giving cash hand to hand? Also, how is the valuation of items done? Legalization is we are paying through UPIs. We are not paying cash. We are a multinational company and we don't allow cash transaction. So either it is done through NEFT or GPay or any UPI, or so that's how we pay. So that's quite legalized, I believe, paying through UPI. How do we function ascertain the valuation of items? So we have two-pronged approach. One could be the product is functional, and the other is non-functional. We've got a rate card. We have ascertained a value over a period of 4 years. We've decided as to what a non-functional is. When you go to a kabadi wala, how much a kabadi wala buys material from an individual if it is a non-functional AC. it is around 3,000 odd rupees, and an AC is 50 rupees, 50 kilograms. So based on that, we have divided per kg rate, and that's how we ascertain the valuation. The team is now quite abreast about it. They know how to figure out, because they have all moved into kabaddi markets and understood that. The next question is, what is the difference between reverse and traditional logistics? Well, a traditional logistics is put to market when a producer or a brand owner, like if I have to give example of say Nokia, when they manufacture their handsets or do new product launches, they put to market by advertising, by distributing their products into the marketplace through various distribution channels. So it's forward looking. They manufacture the product through raw materials and parts and components. They assemble the product, and once they assemble the product, they distribute it to the retail channel, and from the retail channel the customer buys it. So this is a traditional methodology for moving goods from one place to another place. However, the reverse logistics process is when an end consumer buys the product and the product attains its life. Whatever happens after the attainment of life is the work which people like us do from a reverse logistics perspective. Whether it is returns management, when an e-commerce example, which my previous speaker had given, uh, when we pick up the returns from your household, like Amazon or Myntra, when they pick it up, is a returns management activity. And people like us bring it back to the warehouses, repack it, and send it back to the mother warehouse for being resold. The second aspect is under the warranty of the product. If the product goes back, of course, the customer service of that brand owner would repair and give you the product back. But if the end user decides that no longer that he would like to use it, then it is repaired and remarketed in the seconds market. And after that, our brand video was quite self-explanatory as to what happens. And when the product is end of life, is when people like us, we pick it up and then we send it to a recycler. So that's the reverse mechanism of the product life cycle. I can take the next question if it's okay. Does the company have controls in place to continually improve the reverse logistics processes and to continually monitor and control all costs related to the reverse logistics operation? Yes, we have our standard operation process in every domain that we are working, in every department that we are actually working. We are an ISO certified organization, 9001 and 14001, where we are very focused on quality assurance at every level that we are doing. We are continuously auditing and monitoring our activities in the entire value chain, right from procurement of the product to storing of the product and then sending it to the recyclers. Plus, even after it is recycled and broken down, we also look into how the downstream management is being done of the materials that is being recovered out of this process of segregation and breaking. Okay, I can take the next question. Okay, sure, Guru Prasad. We would love to have your email ID, and if you could just drop down an email ID, message to me on LinkedIn, we will take care of this. My team will get back to you. How is Clean to Green helping formal channelization of e-waste? Well, Clean to Green is an awareness program, and we help this by collecting material from individuals, from office clusters, from bulk consumers, bring it back to our collection centers, and after we bring it back to our collection center, we store it and sort it in a proper manner. The handling is done in a we don't just throw the material. Like if you go to any of our collection center, you will see all of them is sorted well enough, and then once the load is good enough to be carried to the recycler, we load it and send it to the recycler, and the process managed by the recycler is also quite mechanized, and they follow a standard operating process. It has helped us to channelize the e-waste in terms of making people aware that they have to dispose their electronic waste in a proper manner. And I think so far, I would not say that we've been successful. it's still a pebble in the ocean. It'll require a lot of people to come and support us in this campaign. Reduce risk to the business. Risk, like what kind of risk are we referring here? Business continuity or so, Mr. Ramesh, you need to give me a little specification on the risk. How do you, what kind of risk are we talking here? Okay, Mr. Venkat says, as a global entity, where do you see India standing in e-waste management? What are the top three challenges RLG is facing? E-waste management is yet to actually take speed. Of course, a lot of evolution has happened step by step in the last 4 years. People were not, submitting Form 3 or annual returns to CPCB. When in 2016, there were only 256 producers who were authorized as EPR. And now today, when we are, there are more than 2,000 producers who have got their authorization done. So there is a sharp increase in the authorization of EPR with CPCB. If you go to their website, you will see multifolds of producers, importers, and brand owners have gotten themselves registered. E-waste is a big issue still. I would not say that we have arrived. Channelizing the material from kabadiwalas and the understanding of producers are two-way things. So it's talking to it's not talking clearly, because ultimately the products are being sold to the kabadiwala, whether the bulk consumer or the individual. So we have to go back to the kabadiwalas, get them recognized, and collect material. Whereas the law does not recognize kabadiwalas or the informal sector. That is a huge challenge, and even the producers do not understand that there is a huge channel of these informal, collectors existing in this country, and we have to have an inclusive approach and make them recognized within the value chain to make it more successful. So there has to be a value proposition for all the informal partners that we have. If that value proposition is not worked around by the formal stakeholders, I don't think so we can have a win-win situation. So that's a huge challenge for us. Second challenge is, of course, making people aware of the waste management. Still, I see a lot of good educated people do not know where to give back their products and how it would be handled. So we keep advertising ourselves, but I think so we need to advertise ourselves like how Swiggy does, or maybe Ola or Uber would do. But we need funds, and that is what the producers have to do it. So we find a huge challenge that the producers still take this as a compliance cost and not as a very focused approach from a circular economy perspective, from a design for environment perspective. Till it's not a business oriented discussion, I don't see much of money flow coming in. So it has to be owned by the producers rather than the PROs and the recyclers doing the work for them. So that's a major challenge again. How can we save money in transporting reused parts? Uh, Save money from what perspective? That has to be clarified, because reused part is again a valuable proposition for to be used. What I know of, at least in automotives, most of these reused parts could be used in for by a lot of mechanics. There's an underlying uh, market here also. So if a new car is bought, and if the reused part could be refurbed, like I know in washing machine it is being done, the motor can get rewinded and reused. So likewise, a lot of money. So obviously, it's not as expensive as the new ones. So, and it has a life. It has a life for another 1 year or 2 years. So it depends from part to part and the utility of it. I think so. True customer experience when it comes to reverse logistics operation. See, for us, the customer is the producer. if you have to understand, the producers has collection targets. So the customer experience could be two pronged. One is from an end user perspective from the rule, who is using it. So that customer has to be defined. For me, the customer is producer. From the rule perspective, it is an end user. So the end user, if one can pick up the e-waste without any headache for him from this doorstep, and of course he gets the same value of money which he would get from the kabadi wala, would be a true value, good experience for a customer. From my organization perspective, for me, my customers are electronic brands. If I am able to support them from all compliance perspective, from fulfilling their all documentary evidences perspective, and time to time, whatever reporting they have to do, both to the State Pollution Control Board and the Central Pollution Control Board, is a happy customer for us.
We'll take last one question. Like if anyone has, you can just post it in the Q&A or chat box.
I am a woman, so seeing me, people could come and get enthused. Yes, it's a little tough market, but if you are a firm believer of doing and getting empowered, I think so. There could be more women, and we have a lot of women in our organization also. So one needs grit and determination, I think so. It's not about women or men. It's about individuals having a lot of grit and determination to do newer jobs. And more of them, the better it is. Yes, for our job, women are better in terms of precision, deep diving, because this work requires a lot of compliance document. But I have a lot of men also having the same grit, determination, and deep diving. Any words of advice that you would like to offer to young logistics and supply chain enthusiasts who are reading this? I think so. Customer service, customer experience is very important. And time management is the biggest key to success in logistics and supply chain. That gives wow to the customer. So how does young enthusiast would like to supply and do work in supply chain is time management and living up to the promises made to the customer. If he says that I have to pick up today at 4 o'clock, he should be there at 3:55. That would give a wow experience, and they can get more and more orders.
I think we are done with the questions, ma'am. Thank you so much for your valuable session. Before
Thank
ending
you.
the session, I just want to inform the participants again about our e-commerce expo. Like during the welcome session, I think most probably half of you were not there. So I think whatever my director, Mr. Venkatreddy Patel, has informed is not conveyed to you. I'll just bring it again that we are having a third edition of e-commerce expo, which will be happening on February 9th, 10th, and 11th. At the Lalita Ashok, Bangalore, and the entire expo and conference will be focused on three different subjects: e-waste recycling and refurbishment, battery recycling and refurbishment, and automotive recycling and refurbishment. I'll be dropping the contact details for of my colleagues whom you can get in touch with regarding your participation, and also I'll just share our LinkedIn page where you can follow us for more updates. I'll just share a small video about our event so you can get a glimpse of it.
A step towards you has brought us closer. Each day we believe to bring in best practices to deliver better results. Each day a new struggle to stay connected. To get closer to nature. To strive for the best. Join us in our journey. Globe's biggest recycling expo conference and exhibition. Experience. A comprehensive collaboration, ready to inspire minds with latest technologies. We have come a long way to get to where we are today. a gateway to all reverse commerce businesses in India. What drives us forward? Innovation that can power a greener nature together. 1.8 billion tons of waste is generated. India standalone produces 247 million tons, out of which 20% is recycled. The world is changing at an alarming rate. Are you discussing an uncertain future? Can our daily choices really bring a change? Discover the unknowns about a sustainable circular economy. Re-Commerce Expo has brought the individuals together, with the support of Government of India, to discuss a healthier, happier and more sustainable tomorrow. We have been connecting people around the globe, exchanging ideas, latest technologies and bringing in a new culture to explore the unknowns. We welcome you to experience the inexperienced.
Thank you all. We'll be having lunch break till 2 p.m. After that, we'll be joining for our next two sessions, which will be presented by Mr. Vikram, CEO and founder of Tech Eagle, and by Mr. Tony, Executive Director of Reverse Logistics Association. I request all to join sharp 2 p.m. so we can start the session on time. Thank you.